Hello, this is Carcavius Preston, and this is my presentation on databases. So, the contents are as follows. I will be discussing specifically rational database and its types, as well as both of its more important types, MySQL and PostSQL. Discussing on how to configure both of them and both of its hardening recommendations. Let's start off with rational database. So what it is a type of database that specializes in creating models that consist in entities, relations, and other data. Each database consists of three components, which are tables, rows, and columns. The tables are an entity type, the rows record the entity, and the columns store the attributes. Rational databases are often used to create data warehouses and IoT, which stands for Internet of Things, and they are used to support users and queries. So, the features of rational databases they include ACID compliant, range of data types, collaborative, secure, and stable. So, with ACID complaint, it is it retains the integrity while performing transactions for the database. For a range of data types, this provides the capability to store any data and carry out complex queries. Collaborative is when with multiple users accessing the database to work on the same project. Secure is access that is limited to or restricted through users' permission, meaning users with no authorized access is able to access the information. And finally, for stable, um, they are rational databases that are well understood and documented. So let's talk about the different types of databases. First, you have Microsoft Access, PostSQL, or PostSQL, my bad, MySQL, and Microsoft Azure SQL database, and Oracle. But first, let me talk about MySQL. So, what MySQL is of course, it's an open source management system for the rational database that uses SQL to manipulate and manage reliable data. What makes MySQL different from other databases is that with MySQL, it is rather known for its speed and scalability, and so it provides more usefulness for websites and applications. And for the port number for MySQL, this would be 3306. And so next, I want to discuss on the way to configure MySQL onto Ubuntu. So first, you'd want to update and upgrade the package or repository. That way, it is updated for where to configure the MySQL. So just okay, and now it is updated. And so next is to actually install MySQL. So, and with using this command right here, and by doing that, it has been installed. Okay. And so next is to verify. Okay. With that installed, now it's time to secure the MySQL. Okay. And now it is asked with to verify the password. And so you probably put it in wrong. Okay. Now, yes, so it has to change the root password. You type in yes, and you put in your new password. Okay. And now this is where you remove anonymous users. And by doing this, it permits unrestricted access without a dedicated user account. And so what you want to do is click yes. Now onto disallowing the root login remotely, which involves preventing remote logins from the root user, as well as limiting the root user's connection to the local machine. And so with this, you'd also want to type yes. With removing the test database, um, it will be accessible to anyone that poses a security threat. And the safest way to remove it is by clicking yes. So, and next is to reload the privilege tables, which stores the information about user privileges and access rights. And so for this, you'd also want to put yes. So finally, you have configured MySQL. And so to check if it's running, you'd want to run this command. Okay. And so next you want to log in to the server. Yeah, so um, yeah, so that's pretty much how with configuring the MySQL. So next with the hardening recommendations, starting with removing anonymous users. Um, by doing this, there won't be any attackers that would have any kind of access to the database without a password. Um, so by doing this, by doing it, it won't have any attackers having that kind of access. Next, you want to enable TLS, and by doing this, it will get relatively simple. And once doing it, you will get valid certifications from the host um, and as well as preventing any attackers from reading the password or any sensitive data that passes over the network. Finally, the final recommendation would be to encrypt database encryption. And so by doing this, it'll protect the database data um, from someone stealing the any disk from the server, and the encryption would not protect the server while the database itself is running, being that the drive needs to be in a decrypted state to be read. However, it is still useful to encrypt, the database in order for it to protect from other attackers. Um, Finally, I want to talk about PostSQL. So this is another database management system that is also open source and is used for transactional and analytical purposes. It acts as an expansion of the SQL language by providing features designed to store and secure complex data efficiently. In addition, PostSQL allows the database to operate in multiple languages, including Python, Java, JavaScript, and Shell. And so the three types includes the server process, backend process, and background worker process. So for the server process, this is the main supervisor, which is responsible for managing client connections and starting new backend processes. With backend process, it is initiated for each client connection and as well as takes care of executing queries and handling database transactions on behalf of the client. In addition, it communicates directly with the client, ensuring efficient database operations. Finally, with background worker process, um, this has several subtypes of process, each doing a specific task. And these processes perform essential background tasks that do database and maintenance and system wide administration and are not associated with specific user connection. And so for the default port number for PostSQL is 5432. Now, how to configure the PostSQL, and again, we're going to use Ubuntu for this one. First, you want to check any available version. So using this command right here, you're able to see any available versions. Okay. And so next you want to install it, install the package. And so with this command right here, let's see. And then next is to verify the installation by using this command right here. Okay. And next you want to connect to the PostSQL. Okay. Okay, something is wrong. Hold on. Okay. Moving on. Um, so basically it is, verified, created already. So yeah, moving on from that. With the hardening recommendations, is to use trust, and by using it, it ensures the security in this server without a need for a password. Um, Another recommendation would be to not use MD5 passwords, um, and rather use a stronger hashes to crack passwords more efficiently. Finally, use alter default privileges, and this will automatically fix any bugs within the server. Here are my references. Thank you.